Even class, Dr. Mark Shark Smith again. Here we're heading into Tuesday. It's already week 4, and we're kind of leading into the marketing and sales portion of what we're talking about. So, uh, training provided by me, and Sharks change the world. Ready to market and sell, and let's get this ball rolling, so to speak. So, what we talked about last class was financial statements, some best practices for staying lean, and some growth phases of the Gartner's method of the 6 different methods to go for, which I'll have a side thing for you for that portion of it. But that's what we discuss about as far as the growth phases and how that all works. What we're going to be telling today is very 2 rudimentary things that have a lot of things that go along with them. There's a lot of things in a sentence. But anyway, selling and marketing, 2 things we're talking about today. Now, selling, it goes into these various things: knowing what to offer, holding a conversation, controlling the conversation, motivation, what's in it for me or with them, actionable close, follow up. Now, knowing what to offer. Section 1. You need to be able to display confidence. You need to be able to make the customers more trusting of your words than their own and anyone else around them, because you have to deem yourself and showcase that you're pretty much the expert in what you're discussing and talking about, which you should be, especially if you're the owner, operator, and entrepreneur of that company. It gives you the better ability to aid them as far as, they call it a consultative sell as opposed to a hard sell, meaning that you're pretty much just ensuring that your product and service aligns for their needs and it can actually operate the way they want it to. And remember that you are the expert in the conversation. So always know that whatever it is that you're discussing with that individual, that you need to be really, really immersed in understanding to exactly what you're talking about and be able to do that with good context and understanding. Okay? Section 2, holding a conversation. Be genuinely interested in what they have as far as a business and the other person. All right? When you're trying to sell an item to anybody, a product to a consumer, business, doesn't matter. You're talking to a human being. You have to be genuinely interested in that person and what you want to learn about. All right? You have to know about their entire personal life, but you want to know how your products and services and what you're trying to convey to them is actually going to work in their world. So you need to know and be interested in what their day-to-day operation looks like. If it's face-to-face, which it's more rare now, but read the nonverbals and social cues if in person. Ask meaningful questions. Be curious but not intrusive. So don't ask things that will be deemed impersonal or like too far or something that might be trade secret. But be curious, because you want to ensure that whatever it is that you're trying to create or get involved in with this this company, this person, whatever, it matches to their needs. And then make sure you're actively listening, because when you might pretty much just engage in a conversation and hold it. Okay, actively listen, pay attention to what they say, work off of what they talk about. The conversation should be minimally you and a lot of them just disclosing and giving you information so you can make a better depiction of what's going on. All right. Controlling the conversation is your goal set. So you talk about 20% of the time is the goal. They should be conveying a lot of information to you so you can pretty much kind of customize and figure out exactly what they need. Let them talk as much as they want. If they go off tangents or whatever, I mean, of course, if your time is limited, you have to kind of control a little bit harder. But you guide the conversation where you want to go, because a lot of times, depending on the consumer, the person you're working with, they can go off on tangents. They can go off on a lot of different things. You have to reel them back in. They might not have the understanding or the connotation to bring themselves back into the conversation. They might just kind of go off of it. Okay, I'm sure we all have those friends that'll just talk in a circle and go from one topic to another without even taking a breath, and it's mind-numbing to be around that individual for long periods of time. Anyway, you go in with a plan, and so you want to make sure that you start off by investigating or in discovery phase, and then you start to kind of work through how you guys are going to work together and make it work. And then you always make sure you get near the end of the closing portion of actionable items and asking for the business, so to speak, and you go to that section of it. But be ready for objections of like hems and haws and reasons that they don't want to go through. I'm not saying that you have to overcome every objection, because a lot of times they might be valid or it just might not work out with it. But if it's something that you possibly haven't uncovered or discovered, or covered enough, revisit it and make sure that they feel comfortable, because you want them to be 100% sold on going with whatever it is that your product or services that you're working off. Now, the example flow goes kind of like this: clear introduction, a reason for conversation, learning about them, discover the motivation, build the value with them, overcome any objections if needed. But if you did a good enough job, there really shouldn't be much besides maybe like cost or time, which are valid concerns, but you try to see how that kind of works through. Because a lot of times, especially if you're working business to business, they might say, we do need this, we just can't afford it right now type situation. And you're like, okay, well, I understand if you have budgetary setups or how it kind of works. Well, how can we make sure that you get it the next round, or how to make sure that the funding is there for it, or et cetera, et cetera. And you get into those nuances of operations of how it's supposed to work and ask for action. Because a lot of times, if it's a cost thing, sometimes it's out of their control. If you're talking to an organization that does only do like annual spends or quarterly spends, they might have to wait a month or two before they can get allocated funding to buy or use your products and services. Or it might just be a smokescreen for something else. But you want to make sure that you kind of ask those questions and get inquisitive and do the right thing as far as whatever the consumer needs to work. Introduction and purpose looks like this: who you are and why you're talking to them. You have to build a value of why they should even be discussing with you. You got to understand too, if you're doing business to business type sales, these people are bombarded with randomness and telemarketers, people just popping in all the damn time. So you got to showcase why you're there and why you're talking to them, and know who they are and what they're about before you get there. You give them an agenda and a purpose of the interaction, so they know how much time you need. That it's gonna be quick. That you're gonna go over certain very specific items, and they go from there. Be confident and comfortable. Like, hello, so and so, I'm Mark from so and so. I'm reaching out to you today per your request for further information about whatever. So what has you interested in this, whatever. Like, that pretty much just showcases that you're reaching out for a reason, because they were looking into something, and you wanted to know why what has them interested in that specific item. So you're not just saying, hey, we think you'll want to use these things. You're saying that you reached out to us, so we're reaching back out to you type situation. We're calling you back because you called us type situation. All right. So you kind of build that value portion of it, because there should be a reasoning while you're reaching out to them. And so make sure that you have that kind of set up for the purpose. You learn through interest and being curious. Put yourself in a mindset of learning to be curious and ask questions, and just be genuinely curious about what's going on in their environment, and what they do, their day-to-day operation, their pain points, like how you can probably fix them and what you guys can do for them type of situation. You have an agenda, what you want to learn as far as like operational, database, whatever it is your product or service lines aligned to, that's what you want to learn about. Like, you having problems in your logistics structure? Okay, explain that to me. You ask follow-up questions, you get deeper and honest answers. So like, if they give you kind of like surface level questions, or surface level answers, you just ask, okay, well, define that a little bit deeper. Give me, like, I don't quite understand it. Can you elaborate more on it? And let them dig deeper and showcase and explain it to you more. And then, of course, you always guide the conversation toward your product and service improving their lives and making their lives easier, how it goes. Listen and watch for buying signals. Asking about specifics, asking about price, asking about type of payments, asking about time, repeat specifics, and what to do next. Those are all buying signals that they're interested in actually wanting this item. So if they ask you, okay, well, how much does it cost? That's a buying trigger, because they're curious that they potentially would want this. Types of payments, asking about like, okay, well, if I added it in here, how would that work? The more engaged they are, the better it is. And so, but if they ask like specifics on like cost or timing and when it can get involved and when it can happen, those are typically buying triggers that they are interested. You've done your job as far as like showcasing that your product or service is going to work for them. Now it's just figuring out the monetary side of it and the timing side of it to make it work. Then you get into motivation. Don't get obsessed with your motivation, okay? If you've gone through past like sales trainings and stuff like that, you need to take all of that out of your head completely. Like, motivation is important, but it's not the main thing that inspires people to make sales, especially if it's business to business. Motivation of why they need a product or service is not always valid, and it's not always deep-seated. It might just be superficial. It might be something, well, I want the latest and greatest cool stuff. I want this in my house because it's awesome. I want this because Jim has it. Like, it doesn't matter, the motivation, because it's not this deep-seated heartache pull that they're going to tell you about how their grandmother died and they always wanted your product or service in their house. Like, that's not how it's going to go. So leave that alone, okay? Everyone has their own personal reasons of why they want stuff. They can give you a surface level answer. It's not your job to dig 3 levels deep and go from there. All right. Try to go 3 layers is like as far as you want to go. All right. If they say like, oh, I just want it in the house, well, that's cool. Do you want it to like make it look nicer? Do you want it for ease of use? And then you pretty much, when they get more reluctant, you stop pushing, because then you're just getting evasive. All right. They want it, they don't, and they want it for their own personal reasons. They'll tell you or they won't. It's not up to you to grill that shit out of them, because it's not important, and it's just going to make them very uncomfortable that you keep asking this question. Their goals are not motivation, all right? So it's not necessary for having a sale or getting through the sales cycle or getting sales at all, but it is something you're just curious about and you want to know, because it might be something that you could either pull on a little bit, or potentially sell them more of or give them other options if it makes more sense. The 3 layers deep example goes like this. I want the product service to benefit my family. Well, that's great. How would it benefit your family? It allows me to get a better job, make more money, response more income is always better. What would you do with that extra income? I'd be able to take my family on one more of a vacation. Vacations are great. I'm curious why a family vacation is that important to you. That's as far as you're going to go. And if you get to this point, then you're really getting psychology based. And it's like when I was a kid, my parents couldn't afford to take us anywhere, so I don't want to have my kids have the same experience. That's a very deep seated reasoning for it that you can get to from asking all these questions. It's not a necessity, but if out of curiosity you wanted to kind of get that a little bit further down, getting this kind of level of motivation does help with the sales cycle, especially if it's going to be personal based. Now, this is not going to always go this way, and you're not going to always get this much out of people, but if you get there, you did a good job of understanding, and this person is very foregoing with their understanding and wearing their stuff on their sleeve, so to speak. Now, most important is the with them. Everyone must be brought back to them in some way, shape, or form. This has to benefit them. You can't be winning in this situation. They have to be benefiting more than you. So while working with them, you're always there. They're your top priority as far as how this benefits them, why it's good for them, why it's better for them, how it's going to benefit them. Them. I'm going to say it over and over again. No matter what, it must matter to them. It must benefit them. It benefits me nothing if it's not personalized as well. Like, oh, it saves time, it saves money. Okay, that's great for everybody. Well, how's it going to fix my specific issues? And then you get really, really, really intertwined with them personally of how it's going to make their lives better. So how would my life improve with the addition of that? That's the goal. All right. Overcoming objections, which are there. Objections are like, you know what? Everyone's got one. Be prepared to counter these. The main objection is time, money, lack of motivation, or worth. Those are always the key things there. Use their own words against them is a very, I don't like to tell you to do that, but using their words against them is pretty much utilizing their motivation and why they need things to kind of not push them a little bit further down the lines of making that judgment call to buy. And like I said, it's not always in their best interest to purchase at that very moment, but a lot of times it is. And a lot of times it's just reluctancy and fear, and you just have to kind of get over those things. But you want to make sure you use their own words for motivation, things of that nature, so you can get it there. So, okay, so price is a concern. I can understand that. You told me it was how much easier life would be with this. Does that offset the price? Using your opportunity cost against them. So, because many of us would pay a fee or more money to get things quicker, faster, easier, right? We all buy things off Amazon. Even if it's a little more expensive, we know we're going to get it much faster, so we'll do that. And that's just how that kind of works. Now, Section 6 is actionable closes. Now, when you get to the end, pitch the outcome. Are you ready to have whatever? Ask for the close. So if this is something you want, let's move forward. Choice closes. This sounds like a great fit, so do you want to blank or blank? Like empower the close to pretty much have them, you don't tell them, okay, well, let's get this, we're going to get this done, sign here. You pretty much, you talk into them about their being the idea of closing the choice or closing the sale. So it sounds like everything's going to work out. When would you like to get started type situation? Like you give them that empowerment of choosing when and how they're going to get this going and how they're going to get it taken care of. And you go from there. And of course, a follow-up, which you have to do as any type of sales structure. Sales is not over after the close. You have to make sure you follow up because especially if you want loyalty, residuals, and continuous-based consumers and clientele, you always have to do follow-ups. Thank them for choosing your organization over and over and over again. Assure they're happy with their venture and earn the right to ask for referral and extra business. Even when you buy a car off a car lot, even though typically people don't buy a new vehicle for every 3 to 5 years typically, that car lot is going to call you religiously on your birthday, on holidays, and pretty much every year until you buy another car. And they want to welcome you back. Even though it's a long-winded sales cycle, they're going to take the time and effort to do so. Many organizations that do big ticket items like that are going to do that because they know that they have to be up on it, because there is a point where you're going to want something new or different, or you want to trade it in, or that you want it breaks down or something of that nature, and they want to be there to service and make you happy so you come back and be a loyal customer. Even though if it's not years until years down the line, they still want you there. All right? That's sales, and I could talk about that for days. Let's dig into marketing, which is a fun part of business, and we'll keep it loose and cool. Marketing, which many of you have gone through with me already, is attracting customers, retaining customers. There's only 2 functions, and those are the 2 main ones that it's about. All right? Why is marketing needed? Potential customers, brand awareness, certain images and products in the marketplace, allows you to target your buying customer base, and you can create really clever plans and fun little animations and cool ads to send out. It's just a fun part of business a lot of times. But these are key things that you have to do to make sure your marketing is. Now, marketing 101 from an academia standpoint are simply just activities and policies that should be directed toward customer satisfaction. That's it. Remembering profitable sales volume is more important than maximum sales volume. So if I sell 1,000,000 units and only make 1 cent on each of those units, it's significantly less than if I sold 500,000 but made $1 on every unit. So the math doesn't equate well just because you have a ton of sales. It's maximizing the volume, the profitable sales volume over the maximum sales volume. You have to find the happy median to stay profitable and in the marketplace as well. Market research is extremely important, especially nowadays with all the analytics that come through. And they are sales best friend. They go hand in hand now because you need that. People that do sales have to have a ton of information on their clientele because now customers and clients are expecting customized service and knowing almost anything and everything about them before they even get on the phone or in person and to talk to you. You better have a really good custom individualized plan of action. Very blanket ones do not resonate well with this generation and future generations. So make sure that you do your homework and you know who you're talking to. And then the last and one of the most important, be smart, not cheap with your marketing budget. Cheap is not a smart way to go. Going super expensive is not a right way to go. Finding the happy median of where your clientele is and the most effective way of reaching them in a facilitation manner is the best way to go. And that's being smart, not cheap with that portion of it. Research is highly important and very much pretty much a competitive marketplace right now. But utilize your testing and customer research to know your consumers inside and out. You research your competitors as well to know how to differentiate and what they're failing on and doing well so you can kind of capitalize on that. You set up your marketing research strategy based around these things, and then you conduct a lot of quantitative research, which is number-based. Surveys, questionnaires, analytics, things of that nature. And then you adjust based on your findings and try to get more granular and understanding and pinpointing on what your marketing is going to look at. Marketing research looks at these specific items like population shifts, legal and regulatory changes, local economic situations that may or may not happen, most viewable material to customers, meaning what sites, what chats, what areas, what places do they go the most that you would be more optimal to put ad spaces in to target them. What's important to your specific customer, price, promotion, logistics, availability of service, customization, whatever it is, you pinpoint and showcase that as much as humanly possible. And you have to make sure you do a lot of brand and logo emphasis to really resonate what your brand is, because there's millions of brands out there doing millions of different things. How are you going to differentiate or pretty much like be a trendsetter in your specific area? And then when it comes to promotions or ad stuff, you have these 4 tools to work off of. You can harp on your product and service, you can create promotions, you can showcase price, and you can go after distribution. And so you use one of these 4 to actually pinpoint your differentiation. You go after product and service. You say like how great your product or service is, best, better, none thing that's ever out there. You showcase that. You might do a promotion, 2 for 1. It's a solid gold version, special edition, limited edition, deep discounts, blah, 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 blah. Promotion to just get them drawn into it, right? There's price, meaning we're cheaper, we'll meet or beat any price out there, middle range, whatever, really, really high end, whatever your clientele is that you're working off. And then distribution, how fast I can get it to you or how fast I can get it implemented for you. And you use one of 4 or all of 4 or a few of these in order to showcase why you are better in your specific ads, okay? You can, if you're going really high end, you might not showcase price. You might just showcase product and service and distribution because promotion makes you seem cheaper. You might just focus on product or service because it's the best and not care about any of the others. You might be really, really good at distribution, like an Amazon, and you focus really hard upon that because we do pretty much the same thing, but we'll get it to you super fast. And then there's marketing strategy. Oops, sorry. Now, marketing strategy, examining differentiations between your product and service and everyone out there and showcasing that using the 4 things that we just discussed. Now, price comparison within your market is always going to be a thing, and you have to figure out exactly who your customer base is. Is the one that you're going to go after the cheapest lines, as far as like that's who you're going to target and go after and fight with? Are you going to go mid-grade and you just want to be kind of competitive and let your product and service and the rest of your part of your company work off of that and differentiate that way? You have to figure out exactly what your consumers and customers want. How the customers you want to emphasize to them, whether it's personal, customization, whatever it is, how you're going to present and tailor your product to your specific customer, and then knowing the geographic and customer segmentation of what you're working off of. Now, This is a lot of information, but it's pretty much just pinpointing and knowing who your customer bases are. Sales is all about learning about your consumers, personalizing, customizing, and showcasing why it's important to them to have your products and services, whether it's consumer or business based. Marketing is all about targeting and finding those consumers for salespeople to talk to. That's the whole goal in the synergistic environment that these two things work off of, and that's why they're so essential to them to function together to make this work. So it's a very key part of your business plan. It's a very important part of this segment. And so pretty much take the time to actually put a lot of effort and thought into your sales and marketing structures, because they do make or break companies every single day. And that's about all you need to know about that.